We don't take these groups seriously. The interim government doesn't take these groups seriously. They don't demonstrate first the will and then the capacity to take on terrorist groups. Then they will conduct terrorist activities in the region first, and we're already witnessing in Pakistan an uptick in terrorist activity since the fall of Kabul, but it won't be long before that reaches somewhere else. And I would like the international community to act preemptively rather than reactively after the nightmare scenario. So the key is to convince, in whatever way we can, with international consensus, the interim government in Afghanistan to take on terrorism within their borders, to demonstrate the will to do so. And if they demonstrate the will to do so, then I have another more unique pitch, which is this, that we need to find a way to build the capacity, if they have the will, to build the capacity for them to be able to do so. They don't have a standing army. They don't have a counterterrorism force. They don't even have a proper border security force. In that situation, even if they had the will, they certainly don't have the capacity to deal with this threat, which is a problem, first for the imminent neighbors, but then for the international community by and large.
I'm sure we're going to come back to this, and I'm sure I'm not going to be able to stop the congressman from coming back to it later in the conversation. But one thing all of us have emphasized so far is the importance of the rights of minorities and of women as well, and you're making an extremely important point that this is a concern shared by everyone. In fact, unless it's fake news, the Iranians and Chinese just met, and one of the things they talked about was the importance of respecting, I mean, would you believe it, women's rights in Afghanistan. Kathy, you were there in last year, I think.
Last year this time.
And you're a great advocate. I mean, you know, what do you think the most effective approaches are right now, given...
وزیر خارجہ بلاول بھٹو زرداری میونخ سیکیورٹی کانفرنس میں پینل ڈسکشن میں شریک ہیں. انہوں نے اظہار خیال کیا اور اظہار خیال کرتے ہوئے افغانستان کے حوالے سے تفصیلی بات کی. انہوں نے کہا کہ افغانستان کے حوالے سے پاکستان کا موقف واضح ہے. ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ افغانستان میں امن قائم ہو. عالمی برادری کو چاہیے کہ افغانستان میں قیام امن کے لیے اپنا کردار ادا کرے. مستحکم افغانستان صرف پاکستان ہی نہیں پورے خطے کے مفاد میں ہے. ان کا کہنا تھا کہ افغان عبوری حکومت دہشت گردی کے خاتمے کے لیے پرعزم ہے اور افغان حکومت نے یقین دہانی کرائی ہے کہ افغان سرزمین کسی بھی دوسرے ملک کے خلاف استعمال نہیں کی جائے گی. اس وقت کی موجودہ صورتحال میں افغانستان اور افغانستان کے عوام کو عالمی برادری کے تعاون کی ضرورت ہے. انہوں نے کہا کہ عالمی برادری کو اس وقت آگے بڑھ کر افغانستان کی مدد کرنے کی ضرورت ہے تاکہ وہاں پر قیام امن کو ممکن بنایا جا سکے. افغان عبوری حکومت دہشت گردی کے خاتمے کے لیے پرعزم ہے اور اس ضمن میں عالمی برادری کی مدد بھی افغان حکومت کو درکار ہے. لہٰذا عالمی برادری آگے بڑھ کر اپنا کردار ادا کرے. انہوں نے پاکستان کے حوالے سے بھی بات کی کہ پاکستان کئی دہائیوں سے افغان پناہ گزینوں کی مدد کر رہا ہے. ہم صرف یہ چاہتے ہیں کہ افغانستان میں امن کا قیام ممکن ہو اور افغانستان مستحکم ہو, افغانستان ترقی کرے. انہوں نے خواتین کے حوالے سے بھی بات کی اور کہا کہ چاہتے ہیں افغانستان کی خواتین بھی ہر شعبہ زندگی میں شامل ہوں اور آگے بڑھیں. چاہتے ہیں کہ افغانستان کے مسائل کا جلد از جلد حل نکل سکے. وزیر خارجہ بلاول بھٹو زرداری میونخ سیکیورٹی کانفرنس میں پینل ڈسکشن میں اظہار خیال کر رہے تھے اور انہوں نے کہا کہ عالمی برادری کو افغانستان میں قیام امن کے لیے اپنا کردار ادا کرنا چاہیے. دہشت گردی کے مسئلے سے نمٹنے کے لیے افغان عبوری حکومت پرعزم ہے, لیکن اس کے لیے اسے عالمی برادری کی مدد کی ضرورت ہے. عالمی برادری کا تعاون درکار ہے. افغانستان کے تمام مسائل کو حل کرنے کے لیے عالمی برادری کو مل کر اپنا کردار ادا کرنا ہوگا. پاکستان کا موقف افغانستان کے حوالے سے بہت واضح ہے. ہم چاہتے ہیں کہ افغانستان میں امن قائم ہو, افغانستان کی معیشت مستحکم ہو. اس وقت افغانستان کو بہت سارے مسائل کا سامنا ہے جن میں معاشی مسائل بھی شامل ہیں اور دیگر کچھ مسائل بھی ایسے ہیں جو افغانستان اس وقت فیس کر رہا ہے, لیکن ان تمام تر مسائل سے نکلنے کے لیے عالمی برادری کا تعاون بہت اہمیت کا حامل ہے. عالمی برادری کے کردار کے حوالے سے انہوں نے خاص طور پر بات کی اور کہا کہ اس وقت افغانستان کی صورتحال کو بہتر کرنے کے لیے, افغانستان کے مسائل کو حل کرنے کے لیے عالمی برادری کو اپنا کردار ادا کرنے کی ضرورت ہے. عالمی برادری آگے بڑھ کر افغانستان کے مسائل کو حل کرنے کے لیے مدد کرے.
Are there other? How are we going to deal with this problem? If we've heard Foreign Minister of Pakistan saying, well, maybe we should actually, if they step up on the security side, actually help the Taliban get their act together in certain ways. Presumably, that would be totally unacceptable to you. So, do you have another way in which you think we should be trying to approach this situation?
I said, and I continue thinking the same way, that we should not recognize the Taliban, but I said as well that we should engage with them.
We should engage.
And we should engage with them on very concrete things. And the first one is to make sure that humanitarian assistance get on the ground to the right people and not to the fighters. The second one, we should engage with them to try to create a space for women and girls, the respect of human rights for them. And at the same time, we must engage with them to get out of the country our collaborators. Spain was in Afghanistan for 20 years until the last day in which the airport of Kabul was running, and we have managed to get 4,000 of our collaborators out, thanks to the help of friends like Pakistan and Qatar. So for those three things, humanitarian assistance, human rights, but very specifically to create a space for women and girls to be able to carry a life and to get our collaborators out, and if possible also people that are really under pressure. We have got over 500 women that were judges previously to the Taliban. For that, yes, we have to do it with them and with our friends in the region. I want to highlight the great role that Pakistan. I went to Islamabad 1 month after the fall of the airport in Kabul, and very quickly our Pakistani friends, they told us, yes, we are going to help you to get out your collaborators. The same thing with Qatar. And at the end, we cannot just renounce to say that everything that we have built for 20 years, and I mean, in the sector that Spain was doing development cooperation, schools for boys and girls were built, infrastructure, people had access to a decent living, the education rate went up. We cannot renounce to think that that was just a parenthesis in the Afghan history. Right. And in order to do that, we must continue focusing on Afghanistan.
Well, by the way, have we managed to get Mahbouba online? Is she with us? Because if not, I'm going to turn to. Sorry, she's not connected. So there may be connectivity problems in Kabul. I'm so sorry about that, because Mahbouba is a very distinguished activist and would have offered us a perspective from Kabul, and I think one of the things she might have said, and I may be completely wrong, is that actually there's quite a lot of movement within controversy within the Taliban movement itself in terms of some of these issues, and you're seeing different groups within the Taliban taking different positions, including on girls' education, on engagement with the international community, on security, and I guess for those of you who belong to political parties, that's absolutely normal in politics. But we just sometimes think of the Taliban as a monolith and don't realize that they are just as complicated as any other political grouping, and no one quite knows how that is going to turn out. But the worry is that it may turn out to be, there may be even more hardline policies than we have already. I'd like to turn to Hosna now, who's in the States, and she left Kabul, I believe. Hosna, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you left in 2021, having been the Deputy Minister of the Interior. And I know that this has been such a traumatic experience for so many, for you and for so many Afghans who've been through this and who have left. So I guess the question I would like to ask you is what can be done by...
वज़ीर ख़ारिजा बिलावल भुट्टो ज़रदारी म्यूनिख सिक्योरिटी कॉन्फ्रेंस की पैनल डिस्कशन में शरीक हैं। अफगानिस्तान के हवाले से बातचीत की जा रही है और पाकिस्तान के मौक़िफ़ से वज़ीर ख़ारिजा बिलावल भुट्टो ज़रदारी ने दीगर शुरका को आगाह किया। वज़ीर ख़ारिजा का कहना था कि पाकिस्तान का मौक़िफ़ हमेशा से अफगानिस्तान के हवाले से बिल्कुल वाज़ेह है, चाहते हैं कि अफगानिस्तान